Welcome to Codex, a history of video games. My name is Tyler Osby.
And I'm Mike Coletta.
And this week we continue our Pokemon coverage with day 3. Or week 3, I guess. I know we said that this was going to be a 3-parter, but I think it sounds like maybe this is going to be a 4-parter, Mike?
It's a 4-parter.
Bonus parts.
I got bamboozled. I was like sitting there today thinking like, I'm doing all this research. I'm flying through. Look at this. And then there's so many games. So many games.
This Pokemon stuff is real popular, isn't it?
Yeah. Who knew that people liked Pocket Monsters so much? I had no idea. But yeah, today we're going to do our part 1 on spin-offs, essentially. So, and here's how I'm going to do it. You're going to see slowly as I read my research, how I slowly start to realize there's just too much to talk about and I try to save time. So this is professionalism. So we're going to start with Pokemon Stadium and then we'll move down from there. But you'll see, like, eventually I start just giving you all the games in a series and then I'll kind of briefly explain that series, because otherwise, if I went into the ins and outs of each one like I wanted to originally, we would be here for 4 hours. And I know some of you want that, but Tyler and I don't. So that's pretty much the way it's going to go. But first, we got an email from Matt, our unofficial third co-host, as I like to refer to him, in Japan. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he actually brought up something that I meant to talk about last episode and forgot. And that is a Nuzlocke challenge. You know what a Nuzlocke challenge?
I have done a Nuzlocke challenge in college before, and I did not last very long before I said, F this, I'm out.
So Nuzlocke challenges, if you don't know, are self-imposed hard mode versions of Pokemon games. And the rules are, there's like 3 core rules, and then you can change things as you go from there. Sorry, I hiccuped during that. Okay. The first rule is you must give all of your Pokemon nicknames so that your bond with them is stronger.
That really works too. It's crazy how much that works.
Yeah, and then the second rule is if a Pokemon faints, it is permanent and you must release it. It's so dark. So you're given a nickname to love it and then you have to release it. And then this is the big one. You can only catch the first Pokemon you encounter in each area. So that would be like on Route 1 or Route 2 or wherever you're at. So if you accidentally kill it, or if it runs away, or if you run out of Pokeballs, or any other reason you are able to catch it, tough. You're done. You can't catch any more in that area. You gotta wait to the next area. So
dang.
This is like definitely done as like a hard mode challenge. I've watched a lot of them on YouTube, but some other people do like harder rules. Like people do, you cannot use recovery items or you cannot use Pokemon centers and so on and so forth. So if you want some more fun, Matt adds though, there are actually randomized ROM versions of the game where all the Pokemon starters, wild Pokemon, trainer battles are completely randomized to make it even more hard. And so Matt says here he once did a randomizer on Fire Red in which the starters were Larvitar, Bagon, and Lotad, and Deoxys was one of the first Pokemon that appeared on Route 1, which I think is really great. So I've watched so many of these online. There's a really good one on Polygon of someone doing a Nuzlocke run that is really great. It's a Griffin McElroy, the guy from podcasting fame, does one, and it's really funny because he gets so attached, and then you just watch him slowly melt down because you're losing it. Okay, so
all his favorites.
Yeah,
disappear.
That's it. Pretty much, that's exactly how it works. So Matt does have some questions for us to answer about our own personal Pokemon stuff. So we're gonna do that though. I think on the last episode. I don't think we should do that now. So I will come back to that next episode. And if I don't come back to that, you all should email me and tell me I'm doing things wrong because I appreciate that.
I'll email you.
Yeah, Tyler will email me. Okay, so first series of spin-offs we're going to talk about is Pokemon Stadium. And so Pokemon Stadium has 6 games in the series, and they're not all called Pokemon Stadium. They're actually in chronological order called Pocket Monster Stadium. That was the Japanese version that came out first. Pokemon Stadium, which is the American version of the Japanese version, but was also released in Japan, so it's like got a few differences with it. Pokemon Stadium 2, Pokemon Coliseum, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, and Pokemon Battle Revolution. So, Pocket Monster Stadium came out on August 1st, 1998 in Japan, and it is the first Pokemon game to not be on a Game Boy. And that was because...
so it predates Pokemon Snap then, in Japan.
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, it doesn't. I am wrong. I am completely wrong.
Oh,
Good point, because I have Snap all the way at the bottom of the list. I actually corrected myself earlier. Pokemon Snap came out on... Oh, no, you're right. It does predate Snap. Never mind. Crisis averted. I had that right.
yeah, in the U.S., because we didn't get Pokémon Stadium in the U.S., right?
No, we did not.
So in the U.S., I think Pokemon Snap predated Pokemon Stadium, but I guess not in Japan, because they had the original.
Yeah, because Pokemon Snap comes out in 1999. So, that's how that one works. Okay, but Pokemon Stadium, the next iteration, comes out 1 year later on April 30th, 1999 in Japan, February 29th, 2000 in North America, April 7th, 2000 in Europe, and March 23rd, 2000 in Australia. Australia, getting it before Europe. Look at that.
All right.
What happens. Good on you, Australia. So, Pokemon Stadium gameplay is interesting because it is not an RPG. It is only battles. And what sets the game apart from the main series is there are 80 battles first. Then you challenge the gym leader castle, and there you battle against 8 Kanto gym leaders, the Kanto Elite Four, and the champion. And once that's done, you battle against Mewtwo. And then after you beat Mewtwo, you're like, hey, just do it all again on a harder mode.
Holy moly.
So
that sounds intense.
It's just battles. I actually was wondering how it worked because you don't actually catch Pokemon. You like rent them, which is interesting.
Oh,
or
yeah.
You pull them from your Game Boy. That
was the real way to do it. You like build your team on your Game Boy, and then you get to watch them battle in 3D on your TV.
Exactly. And there's also a stadium mode, and the stadium mode has these challenges called like the Pika Cup or the Petite Cup or the Poke Cup or the Prime Cup, and those are just like give you special rules to them. So they like do little alterations there to make it different. For the sake of time, with each sequel for Pokemon Stadium, again, this will fall out later on in the research as I start to realize how daunting this task I've given myself is. I'll just do new features in the release dates. So Pokemon Stadium 2 came out on N64 again on December 14th, 2000 in Japan, March 28th, 2001 in North America, October 10th, 2001 in Europe. And the new features included a minigame park. So this was in an area called White City, and you and 4 friends, on 4 N64 controllers, could play 12 different Pokemon-themed minigames. Because who doesn't love a good minigame,
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and it's not required, but Pokemon from the players' inserted Game Boy cartridge, you can use those also in the minigames. So you don't just battle them, you use them in minigames, which is neat. There's also a mode called Free Battle Mode, where you can just, it's practice mode, essentially. And you can put modifiers in, and you can actually have up to 4 people play in practice mode, so you can use this as like a way to play with your friends, too, with weird modifiers on, which I thought was pretty neat. Then there's also the Game Boy Tower mode, where the following Game Boy games, Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, or Crystal, could all be played on the N64. So you got options. Okay.
Oh, yeah. You could do that in the first game, too.
Oh, yeah. It's just now this one allows Gold, Silver, and Crystal, I believe. Yeah, that was the difference with adding those 3 games. Winning Stadium Cups and completing the Gym Leader Castle eventually unlocks higher speed options, too, which is neat.
You get that Doduo and Dodrio speed.
Yeah, there you go. So in Japan, you could actually use that mobile phone adapter with Crystal. Remember we talked about that a while back, I think. But you could use that. Again, it's only a Japanese thing. Japan got a lot of cool stuff.
It really did.
With like early mobile phone service stuff on there, So that's pretty neat that they could do that. And you could actually play with your friends that way. Like you could play against them, or you could like transfer and trade over the mobile adapter that way, which is also really cool. So, Pokemon Coliseum. This is the next game in the series. This one came out on GameCube. So we're into GameCube generation on November 21st, 2003 in Japan, March 22nd, 2004 in North America, and May 14th, 2004 in Europe. And this is actually different. So Coliseum and the next game I'm going to talk about, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, actually have a story mode.
Oh, I didn't
associated
know that.
with
These are ones I've never played.
Yeah, so they're actually more of an RPG than the previous Stadium games. You travel around not only just a town, but a region. I actually didn't write the region down because I'm a very professional podcaster. I think it's called No, that's Pokemon Ranger. Ari something. I got to look it up. Can you look it up for me?
I'll look it up.
On it? Thank you. But the way you're catching Pokemon is using something called it's like what you do is you're actually using a Poke Snagger is what they call it, and you're getting these shadow Pokemon.
Oh,
and
the region is Ore.
Okay, so you're trying to like actually save these Pokemon in a way and purify them is the wording they use.
That sounds weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. I didn't really look up much about the plot of this one. I just think it's very cool that it actually is a story mode, and Gale of Darkness kind of picks up 5 years later after where the story in the first game comes from. So it's the same shadow Pokemon mechanic. That one was released on GameCube also in August 4th, 2005, October 3rd, 2005 in North America, November 10th, 2005 in Australia, and November 18th, 2005 in Europe. And
dang, I want to play these games now.
Yeah, these games actually seem really cool. So especially if you got a GameCube, like I have a GameCube sitting there that I haven't even turned on yet. So the coolest part about Gale of Darkness, though, is there's this cool area called Mount Battle. And it's essentially like a 100 trainer challenge. So it actually opens up really early when you start the game in Gale of Darkness. And there are 100 battles that are split into 10 zones. So 10 battles in each zone. And the last trainer you face is the area leader, is what they call them. And once the area leader is defeated, you get a specific number of Poke coupons, which you can use to buy items later on. So when you defeat the area leader, you get a bunch of Poke coupons, you get a bunch of special items, and then you exchange those Poke coupons at the front desk of Mount Battle to get certain prizes. And I just thought that was a cool challenge mode that I'm like, why is this not in core games?
Yeah,
like
that's
Mount
cool.
Battle should be, I think it could be moved over to core games and stuff. So that was a pretty awesome version of Stadium, I thought, because it has a story. Even though it's got this weird shadow Pokemon purify mechanic, I actually read a lot about it and I kind of still don't get it. Like
Purifying shadow Pokemon?
Yeah, because I was like, okay, when you purify them, do they become a new Pokemon you can use? Like, is it like a shadow Pokemon and then you purify it and you're like, oh, it was a Diglett all along. Is that what it was? Like, I don't really get it. They also all have shadow moves too that they can use. So it was very confusing to me. This is actually one spot where I'm like slightly befuddled by how they did this, but the games themselves seems like they had a decent following. Otherwise they wouldn't have made a sequel.
Sounds like we're going to have to play them.
Yeah, that's pretty much sounds like what it is. Pokemon Battle Revolution is the most recent game, though, in the Stadium series. And this one came out on the Nintendo Wii in Japan on December 14th, 2006, and in North America on June 25th, 2007, and in Australia on November 22nd, 2007, and in Europe on December 7th, 2007. And in Pokemon Battle Revolution, or PBR, for all you beer fans or professional rodeo fans, you have 11 different Colosseums, all in a place called Poketopia. And each Colosseum has a special rule or gimmick associated with it. So examples they gave are the Crystal Colosseum holds battles in a 16-person single elimination tournament. The Gateway Colosseum is only open to a certain pass you get, like a rental pass. Once you get that, you're able to go in. The Neon Colosseum uses a wheel and you to choose the players and opponents battling Pokemon. So it's like randomized. And this game seems cool because Pokemon Battle Revolution went back to the old format of this is just battles. Like it kind of went
like the Pokemon Stadium format.
Yeah, there's no story mode in this. You're just going back to battling Pokemon, which I think is kind of how Stadium should be. Personally,
yeah,
because
man, I want to go back and play these games again. You got me all hyped.
You all hyped again? Did you play Stadium and stuff?
I played the original Stadium like way back in the day.
Yeah, I never got these games. I never played them. It kind of bums me out. I feel like I should pick up Stadium 2, just jump right into it.
Yeah, you got to get that transfer pack so you can plug your cartridges in.
Well, I mean, it sounds like if you're not going to transfer the Pokemon, what's even the point?
Yeah, that's really it.
You got to do that. All right, so that was Pokemon Stadium series. Everybody, you feel good about it, Tyler? I
feel pretty good about it, yeah.
Feel hyped? Okay, because the next one we're jumping right into is the Pokemon trading card game.
Oh, I love this game.
So there are actually 5 games in this series technically, but the middle 3 are all kind of spin-off versions of the original, if that makes any sense. So the original Pokemon trading card game came out for the Game Boy Color in Japan on December 18th, 1998. On April 10th, 2000 in North America. That's way later. In Australia, it came out on July 11th, 2014. And on Europe, it came out in December 15th, 2000. So you're like, wait, why is there a 2014 date in Australia, right? That's because that's the date it came to Virtual Console. So Australia
they never got a real version.
They never got it.
Wow.
They could only get it on the 3DS Virtual Console in 2014.
Huh.
So the spin-offs of the
Aussies.
game. I know, right? I feel bad. So here's what's interesting about these spin-off versions is you'll notice they're not for Game Boys. Pokemon Play It came out on December 1999 in Europe and February 2000 for Windows. And Pokemon Play It version 2 came out, and that was just like, for some reason, this is what's confusing about this page for this. When I was looking at Wikipedia at this, I think it's just an update. But it's such a big update, they consider it almost a newer game because Pokemon Play It version 2 came out later in February. Like it was a patch or something.
Back when games didn't really get those.
Yeah, so I think that's why they call it a separate version, maybe, because it's not technically a patch. It's like maybe they re-released it a month later with a different disc and a different version of the game. I really couldn't figure out more on that, and I looked it up, and I didn't understand where they were going. So
strange.
Yeah, but the next one though, Pokemon Card Game 2, Here Comes Great Team Rocket, is actually a Japanese-only release that came out on March 28th, 2001 for Game Boy Color. But I'm going to pretty much say it's essentially the Pokemon trading card game, just a little bit redone. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
You know, the Japanese version. But the big one, the fifth game, is Pokemon Trading Card Game Online. And this was released worldwide on March 24th, 2011. But what makes this game interesting is it was released first as a browser version of the game, but then on May 15th, 2012, it came out for Windows. On November 5th, 2012, it came out for OS X. On September 30th, 2014, it came out for iPad, so iOS. And then on April 7th, 2016, which wasn't that long ago, it came out on Android phones.
I've played this on my iPad a bit. It's fun.
Is it fun?
Yeah.
I feel like if you like the trading card game, this is probably right up your alley. You know, if you play it, it's just like a electronic version of the trading card game. And actually,
the Game Boy Color version is super fun because it's like a whole story RPG in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, have you not played that one?
No, I never played that one.
You missed out,
about
buddy. Yeah, no, it's super great. It feels like a real Pokemon game, except for instead of like going around the world and collecting Pokemon, you're just going around the world and collecting Pokemon cards, and then you fight the gym leaders with your Pokemon card decks, and it's basically Pokemon, but you're building decks instead of a team of Pokemon. It's really fun.
Let me run this by you because you seem to know more about the trading card game than I do. If I recall, the trading card game, you have a team of Pokemon, right? Mm-hmm. But then you keep the moves and then the energy you use to do the moves you're drawing from your deck.
Yeah.
Right? But your team is static, isn't it? Isn't that how that works?
Well, no. So like you build a deck. This is like going into the rules of the trading card game itself. But you build a deck of, I think it's 60 cards. And there's some like limitations on how many of those cards can be Pokemon, how many of those cards can be whatever. About half your deck is those energy cards, I think. And then you just draw, like in any other trading card game, you draw a hand, and you set up your Pokemon on the board. You know, you can play them if you draw them if they're in your hand, and then you attach energy cards to your Pokemon so you can use the moves. And then the first one to defeat 6 of the enemy's Pokemon wins. And then for every Pokemon you defeat, you get like a little prize card that are just 6 random cards from your deck that you set aside before the game starts. Sometimes it's very cool when you defeat a Pokemon. You get one of those great cards in your deck that you really needed, and sometimes you just get another energy card, and that feels bad.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a really fun trading card game. Like it's pretty well fleshed out, especially I mean, like I don't play Magic, but compared to something like Hearthstone, it's definitely a bit more complex.
Yeah, that sounds way more complex than Hearthstone for sure. Hearthstone is like, And it's not bad when I say this. It's not. It's just like baby's first trading card game, I think.
Yeah.
Which is
That's
fine.
very much true, which is fine. And it's very fun because of that. It's like just because it's so simple.
Yeah, it's totally. And it actually brought a ton of people in for that reason. So in the online game mode, though, there's 3 modes. There's training mode, and this is where you play the CPU and you learn the mechanics of the game. And you actually do still unlock booster packs. So if you're going to start playing this game now, that's where you start, is training mode. Then there's versus mode. In versus mode, you play against other people and you earn prizes by climbing a versus ladder, and that ladder resets every 3 weeks. And there are 4 types of play modes in versus mode. There's theme mode, where you can only use pre-constructed theme decks. There's standard mode, where you can only use cards which are allowed in the current standard rotation. This is a lot like Magic, where you're like, okay, I think it's 2 years old or retired from play or something like that. There's a rule to it. There's expanded mode, which allows cards from the expanded rotation, which is like more than a year or 2. And then there's unlimited mode, which any card from any time you can use. Okay.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah. So, and I think it said that unlimited mode has been respected to only be a playable option with online friends, because there's no way we can actually
they can't balance
this at all. Yeah. So tournament mode is the last mode. So that was versus mode, those 3 themes. But tournament mode involves 8 players fighting through 3 rounds of single elimination style contest. And the rewards increase in line with the finishing position of the player. So winning at least 1 match in a ticket entry ensures you get a booster pack as a reward. So this game is still really popular. I think people still play it online. It's been around. It's one of those games
pick it back up. You get me excited for it again.
Dude, we could play this together. What if we just stop doing this podcast and get really into Pokemon cards and we never finish?
Let's be professional Pokemon trading card game players.
Oh, man. Do you know they do the tournament every year in LA, right?
Really?
Yeah, because it was
I want to go to that sometime then.
It was in LA, I think, a year ago when I was still living there. And for Pokemon Go, which we will not be talking about this episode. That's next episode. Sorry, everybody. For Pokemon Go, they actually had Kangaskhan's there, which is usually an Asia-only Pokemon. They actually had it show up all around Anaheim, where it was.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Like, get Pokemon fans to come out?
Yep, exactly. And it worked, too. I almost drove to Anaheim, and I was like, that's stupid. Don't do that. And then I stayed home. Okay, so Pokemon Pinball. Pokemon Pinball, the original, there's 2 games in this series, came out. The original one was on Game Boy Color, came out on April 14th, 1999 in Japan, June 28th in North America, July 13th in Australia, and then in Europe didn't get it until October 6th, 2000. That's crazy.
That's way late.
Yeah, so late. And then the second version of the game was Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire, and this came out in Japan on August 1st, 2003, North America on August 25th, 2003, Europe on November 14th, 2003, and Australia on September 26th, 2003. Again, Europe getting last. Sorry. Here's the deal. They're both pinball games, okay? The big differences between Pokemon Pinball and any other kind of pinball game is there's 2 different tables. In Pokemon Pinball, the first one, the original, it's red and blue table. And then in Ruby and Sapphire, it's Ruby and Sapphire table. And each table has like different mini games associated with it and different Pokemon you can catch. Because if you're like, hey, can I catch Pokemon in Pokemon Pinball? You sure can.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, and the way it works is like you actually trigger it by hitting a certain number of targets, kind of like any other pinball minigame,
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, every pinball game, it's like you complete missions or whatever to get multipliers. These missions in Pokemon Pinball involve catching Pokemon and evolving the Pokemon you already have. And you just have to hit certain areas on the table to get these things to trigger and to happen. So it's pinball, which is fun and it's awesome. And I'm glad they had 2 iterations of it. I just kind of want to know if they would ever make a new one.
I don't know. That first one was neat because it had a rumble pack built in. You had to put a little AAA battery in it and it shook when you hit stuff.
Oh, that's fun. That's just pure fun right there.
I don't know if they did that for the second one.
Yeah, I don't know either. I have no idea. But yeah, Pokemon Pinball. There you go. There
Cool.
it is. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different games in this series. Okay?
Dang.
I'm going to go through them right now, and then I'll explain it all at the end what it is. So the first one you got is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Blue Rescue Team, and Red Rescue Team. In Japan, it was released on November 17th, 2005. In North America, September 18th, 2006. Australia, September 28th, 2006. And in Europe, November 10th, 2006. This came out on the Game Boy Advance in 2005 and the Nintendo DS. Yeah, it came out on, there's two different ones. There's a Game Boy Advance version and then a DS version. And then it came to the Wii U Virtual Console in 2016. So if you wanted to play this on your Wii U, you totally could. That's the first
great.
one. All right. Oh, see, this is here. There's some more details. Actually, I wrote more notes. The Red Rescue Team was released on Game Boy Advance. The Blue Rescue Team came out on DS.
Oh, that's interesting to divide them across platforms like that.
There's one thing that Nintendo's good at. It's making people buy the same game twice. They're really into that.
Oh, man. Yep. Nintendo and Square Enix.
They're totally into it. All right. The next game is Pokémon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time and Explorers of Darkness. This came out on the DS in Japan, September 13th, 2007. North America, April 20th, 2008. In Europe on July 4th, America's Independence Day, 2008. And in Australia on June 19th, 2008. So that was just a DS release. Next one in the series.
Cool.
Pokémon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Sky. Do you see like a pattern here?
Yeah,
Explorers
kind
of
of.
Time, Explorers of Time, Explorers of Darkness. This is actually an enhanced remake of Time and Darkness, much like a Pokemon Yellow is a remake of Red and Blue.
Gotcha. It's the third game.
It's the third game. This came out in Japan on April 18th, 2009, in North America on October 12th, 2009, in Australia on November 12th, 2009, and in Europe on November 20th, 2009. Oh, poor Europe. Every time. Getting in at the very end. Okay. Now, the next game. This titles wise, I don't know. Just tell me what you think about these titles, Tyler. Okay.
Okay.
Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Keep Going, Blazing Adventure Squad. Let's Go, Stormy Adventure Squad. And Go For It, Light Adventure Squad. Those are three different Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games.
Wow.
And
was that what they were called in the U.S. too? That seems like a weird name for a U.S. game.
yeah, this is what they were called in the U.S., but that's because they're only released in Japan.
Oh, gotcha.
So if you wanted this, you had to get like a Japanese copy. So they were named the same in the US because you could only get a Japanese copy. But what's cool about these games, they came out for the Wii.
Ooh.
This is the first Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game to come out on a home console, and America didn't even get a chance to get it. Okay.
Dang it.
Yep, it came out in Japan only on August 4th, 2009. So, next one is called Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity. And this one came out on Nintendo 3DS. So we're in the 3DS generation now. In Japan, November 23rd, 2012. In North America on March 24th, 2013. In Europe on May 17th, 2013. In Australia, May 18th, 2013. And that's the first DS title. And then the final one is called Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon.
First, it was the Mystery Dungeon. Then it was the Explorers of Sky. And now it's the Super Mystery Dungeon.
The Super Mystery Dungeon. This came out on Nintendo 3DS on September 17th, 2015 in Japan. In North America on November 20th, 2015. And in Europe on February 19th, 2016. And in Australia, February 20th, 2016. I don't know why Europe and Australia keep switching back and forth. You know?
Yeah, it's strange.
It just seems really different. So these games are weird for the Pokemon series. And you know why they're weird, Tyler?
Why?
Because they're roguelike dungeon crawlers. So what they are is essentially the whole idea behind this game is you are a part of a Pokemon team. And as happens in every game, by the way, in every game, the player wakes up transformed into a Pokemon. And the only thing they remember is that they used to be human. And then they're like, oh, well, I got to figure this out. And that's where the mystery begins.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, no, it's actually like a really cool idea. And so the way the game works is you form your team together. And then your team is 3 Pokemon, you and 2 others. And you find jobs on these like job boards that have you go through these randomized dungeons. And the dungeons have like turn-based combat where you defeat other Pokemon. and they all have different objectives. So some of them you got to go find like a wild Pokemon to battle. Some of them you got to get to the end of the dungeon. Some of them you got to beat the big boss. There's different puzzles and stuff to unlock as you go along. What's funny though to me is like while you go through the dungeon, you have to get food because you get hungry and you have to eat food. So it's like kind of like this weird survival aspect.
It's like a survival roguelike dungeon crawler.
Yeah, but for Pokemon, which just doesn't seem like it fits. I don't know. I've never played these games. If you played this game, listener, send us an email. I tried to look up as much as I could about it, and there were just so many, like, without giving away the story, you know, because like pretty much when you look up these games, they're just like giving away all of the story, and I didn't want to just do that. You know,
super spoilers. You didn't want to get spoiled.
Yeah, because that's pretty much all I would be able to do to talk about these games is just spoil everything. So the whole thing I'll say is that you wake up, you're a Pokemon, and then you got to figure out why you got turned into a Pokemon, and then you got to go solve some missions to get there. That's pretty much how the game works. So,
sounds great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The next game is Pokemon Ranger, Pokemon Ranger series. And there's actually 3 games in Pokemon Ranger series. The first is Pokemon Ranger, the original. That's what it's called, just Pokemon Ranger. It came out in Japan on March 23rd, 2006. In North America on October 30th, 2006. In Australia on December 7th, 2006. In Europe, again, tagging behind, April 13th, 2007.
Oh, boy.
And this came out on the Nintendo DS, but if you're like, hey, I can't find a DS copy, don't worry. It's on your Wii U Virtual Console. 2016. That's where it's at.
Woohoo!
So you can play that one if you want. There's Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia. This came out in 2008 for the Nintendo DS. Actually, pretty much, so it came out in March 20th, 2008 in Japan, and then November 10th, 13th, and 21st for North America, Australia, Europe, respectively. So that's a way better release schedule, if you ask me. Just all bunched together. That's a lot better. Obviously, Japan's going to get it first, but that makes more sense. They really do. And then the next game, or the final game in the series, is Pokemon Ranger Guardian Signs, and this came out on March 6, 2010 in Japan, October 4th, 2010 in North America, November 5th, 2010 in Europe, and Australia, November 25th, 2010. And that came out on the DS as well as the Wii U Virtual Console. All of these games are on the Wii U Virtual Console, which is pretty neat. If you have one of those, it's good for you. So these games are different from core Pokemon games because in this version, you have one Pokemon that travels with you. It's your starter, but every other Pokemon you catch temporarily to help you solve puzzles as you go. Because the whole idea is you're like a park ranger in a region where Pokemon are not just like trained to battle, but they're taken care of as pets or they live in the wild. So in the first game,
there's not a weird fascination with making monsters fight each other in this region.
There is not. No, there is not. So in the first game, you're actually fighting a crime syndicate called the Go Rock Squad, which is, again, the names of the crime syndicates. They're not even a team. They're not even Team Rocket or whatever. They're just the Go Rock Squad. So what makes these games separate from other ones, too, is you don't use Pokeballs to capture Pokemon. You use a capture styler, which is just the stylus of the Nintendo DS, because they're really like these games were designed for the DS in mind. So the way it works is Pokemon comes on screen and you try to draw circles around it as fast as you can, and you use attacks on them, and then the capture styler has a health bar too, and if that goes down or runs out of energy, then you lose the Pokemon. So you got to like try to capture the Pokemon by drawing circles around it as fast as you can. It sounds really different, but could be fun.
Yeah.
So, and this was 100% like very much. I would describe, so Pokemon the core series is definitely a kids game, but this is very much a kids game.
Oh, like even more kids game than the main series.
I feel like it is just by how it, like, you're drawing circles, you're using that stylus. It's very much seems to be more child oriented than say like Mystery Dungeon, which is like straight up a dungeon crawler. That's not very child oriented. But yeah, so Pokemon Ranger, cool series, cool idea. They don't make them anymore. So you'd have to definitely find a copy for the DS, or if you get that Wii Virtual Console, jump on there. The next games I didn't even know about until I researched this. Have you ever heard of Pokemon Rumble?
No, I have never heard of Pokemon Rumble.
So Pokemon Rumble is a top-down, like, beat-em-up game where you play as a Pokemon and you run through a level and you beat up other Pokemon as you go along.
Like Battletoads?
Like, it's like top-down, though. It kind of looks almost like Diablo.
All right, I got to look this up. Pokemon Rumble.
Yeah, it's very different.
There's a good Let's Play going on here.
Which one is it?
Whoa.
Right? It's like top down and you're like beating stuff up going through a level. So Pokemon Rumble came out in Japan on June 16, 2009 and North America on November 16, 2009 and in Europe on November 20, 2009 for the Wii. It's just a Wii game. Yeah. And so in Japan, it's also known as Melee Pokemon Scramble. That's what it's called. Pokemon Rumble Blast came out on August 11, 2011 in Japan, on October 24, 2011 in North America, and in Europe on December 2nd, 2011. And this is a 3DS game. And so it's called Super Pokemon Scramble in Japan and Super Pokemon Rumble in the PAL region of the world, which I believe we've talked about before, right? The PAL release region. Area. So
just Europe and Australia.
Yep, and it's a direct sequel to Pokemon Rumble. So Pokemon Rumble U came out for the Wii U. If it's got a U at the end of it, it came out for the Wii U.
That's how you know.
That's how you know. On April 24th, 2013 in Japan, August 15th, 2013 in the PAL region, and then on August 29th, 2013 in North America. North America got it last. But again, watching this game, I don't think these games were really hits in North America. I've
never even heard of them.
These games were really big in Japan, and I don't think they were big really anywhere else. So that's kind of how this works. The Pokemon Rumble World came out in 2015 worldwide on April 8th, 2015 for Nintendo 3DS. It's called Everyone's Pokemon Scramble in Japan. They're really running out of names. Originally, it was released on the 3DS eShop as a freemium game, but then the physical retail versions came in 2016. In Pokemon Rumble Rush, which is the final one, that was Australia only on May 15th, 2019. And so, yeah, these are just like top-down beat-em-ups where you run through a level and you face a boss at the end. It's like real time. You're just fighting.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it sounds like
I want to check it out.
I mean, all these games that I've just never heard of in the Pokemon series actually look really cool.
Yeah, I'm like down to dust off my Wii U and play some Pokemon Rumble.
Got to get that Rumble going. All right. I really hope that Pokemon Rumble was a professional wrestling version game, but it was Pokemon. I thought that'd be really funny. So the last game I'm going to talk about, and I've saved it to the end because it is by no means chronological, is a game near and dear to my heart, and I think to Tyler's heart too. And that game is Pokémon Snap.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Pokémon Snap. I have way more on Pokémon Snap than any other game, by the way. Pokémon Snap was originally released in Japan on March 21st, 1999, and in North America on June 30th, 1999, and in PAL region, September 15th, 2000. And that was first, it came out on N64. There is a Wii Virtual Console version of it that came out in 2007, and a Wii U Virtual Console version of it that came out in 2017. It was developed by HAL Laboratory, which is a subsidiary of Nintendo, as we all know. They also do Super Smash Brothers too, I believe. Also, not like the sequel.
But they did do the sequel.
They did that too, also. This is so confusing. So, you play Pokemon photographer Todd Snap.
That's his last name? Snap?
That's his name. It's Todd Snap.
Is the exclamation mark there too?
I put that there because I thought it was important to everyone to know that it's Todd Snap. Actually, I might have spelled it wrong. It might be Snap with 2 P's. I'm not entirely sure. Professor Oak, remember him? Mm-hmm. Your best friend from Pokemon Red and Blue?
I do remember Professor Oak.
He found a place called Pokemon Island, which is like, this is a special island with a variety of climatic and geographic regions where Pokemon live relatively undisturbed by humans. It's kind of like the Jurassic Park of Pokemon when you think about it.
Pokemon Park?
It's Pokemon Park. It's their Island Nublar, but there's no fences or anything. So Oak hires you, Todd Snap, to get pictures to accompany his scientific research. So he knows like you're the guy. So he's like, I want you to jump in this new amphibious motorized buggy I created named the 01 and take pictures on a rail while you drive through this Pokemon island area. So the game pretty much like my friend, when I was in Alaska as a kid, was like, you got to get this game. And I was like, I don't know, man. And I got it. It completely changed my life. It was so fun. It like told me, it like showed me that there's non-core Pokemon games that were good.
Yeah.
Because to me, I was like, red or blue or nothing. You know what I mean? I'm not playing anything else. And
That's
this
right.
game, I remember like distinctly going into the little cave area where like Jigglypuff is. You gotta catch that perfect photo. If you don't know how it works, you like take a picture and then it rates your pictures at the end of the level, and it's like, you did a great job, or you did this. Also, you got to take pictures of like every Pokemon type you see to like unlock them.
Yeah,
So,
if you take a picture of every Pokemon you get to go to the
prize.
cool new level. And
Mhm.
yeah, and there's like different things, like you can sort of interact with the environments, like if you throw food at a certain thing or they have like the pester balls that annoy Pokemon, you like throw things at the right stuff and you can like sort of make other things happen in the levels. And then like you knock Charmander into the lava, he comes out as a Charizard, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, that was so cool. Gosh, I love this game. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I still have it. I hope I still have it for my N64. I gotta look. It was my favorite game.
I could probably dig up my copy somewhere.
Yeah. What's strange? Okay, this is what's cool to me about this. Did you know that Pokemon Snap actually didn't start as Pokemon Snap?
No.
This
What did
is
it
what I
start
found
as?
out. A game called Jack and the Beanstalk, based off of the fairy tale Jack and the Beanstalk.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a game that was made for the 64DD, which is the disk drive version of the N64 that was only in Japan. And so they were actually working on it. And it was kind of like going to be seen as like, you can actually, they called it Jack and Beans is what it was called. And this name is actually seen in the intro video of Pokemon Snap as well as in the credits. So, because Jack and the Beanstalk was first revealed in February 1995, and it was a year before the release date of the N64, but the game was never heard from again. And this is what's crazy about this game is there's no screenshots or videos have ever been publicly released, and there's so little known about what the game looked like or played like. We don't even know if there was like a camera element to it.
Okay.
Like you just know that it says it was based like Pokemon Snap came from this game. Now, is that like the on the rails parts of it? Is that the level design? Is that we have no idea. It's all speculation. Some people even think that the gameplay came and ended up in Earthbound 64.
Which also never came out, right?
Yeah, which never came out because that started development in 1994 and then was canceled in 2000. So and there was an interview where Benimaru Ito, who was one of the art designers of Earthbound 64, said that the game was to feature seeds, and when planted, these seeds would grow in real time, utilizing this N64DD's internal clock.
That sounds nothing like Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, right? Nothing like it, but it says this game came from that. It says Pokemon Snap came from it. And I have also a quote here from our hero, Satoru Iwata, who says,
rest in peace.
quote, originally, Pokemon Snap for the Nintendo 64 system wasn't a Pokemon game, but rather a normal game in which the player took photos. But the motivation for playing the game wasn't clear, so we wondered what players would enjoy taking pictures of, and later on we made a somewhat forced switch to taking pictures of Pokemon. So I think they must have borrowed something from this Jack and the Beanstalk game that was like engine related.
Yeah, maybe.
And then they realized, well, we're going to make a photo game out of it. And then they're like, oh, well, actually, we're going to end up making a Pokemon photo game out of it. And so that's how Pokemon Snap came to be. And it's one of my favorite games on the N64.
That game's
Easily.
very fun. For me, I remember, I'm pretty sure the only reason I ever got this game was because it came out before Pokemon Stadium, and there was like a lot of hype, at least for me. I don't know in the industry what the hype was, but for me as like a 9-year-old kid, there was a lot of hype around the first N64 Pokemon game, and I was like more excited for Pokemon Stadium, but because Pokemon Snap was that first N64 Pokemon game, I had to get it, and I had a lot of fun. It's so fun. It's such a good game.
It's such a good game, and I really want to replay it. I'm going to try to find I have a funny feeling that this is one of those games I let a friend borrow, and then they never gave it back to me, which is a common childhood occurrence,
Yeah.
But it's so
if you
good.
try to play it in an emulator, Google around, because I know this is one of the games that like N64 emulation has a tough time with because of the way the photos, like the way it judges photos is like really hard for a emulator to do, I guess. So.
Oh, interesting. Well, yeah. Well, this is the last game I have in the history today because we're going to go next week into talking about Pokemon Go, but also that Pokken tournament game. There's so many games.
Yeah.
Man.
They've made a lot of Pokemon games.
There's also like I don't know if I want to get into them, but there's like a typing game. There's the kind of the voxel art game that's for phones. I forget what that's
and there's
called.
like Pokemon Quest for Switch.
Yeah,
so,
Quest. That's another one. We didn't even touch Pokemon Box, which is technically a game. Yeah. So we got to go into those. Yeah, we got to go into those too. But so we'll continue it next week. It's probably going to be a much shorter episode, but we'll at least get Pokemon Go and give it its justice and all that stuff. So with that, Tyler. Oh wait, I'm not going to ask you what you've been playing. We got a new review. Can I read the review?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Let me read this review right now. So, from The Dancing Baptist. What a fun name on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars. The hosts are fun, laid back, and have good chemistry. The topics are interesting and infinite. Great show. Hey, thank you, The Dancing Baptist, for being the best. For making us feel good. That always makes me feel nice. As always, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to us. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be on there. Or you can, more importantly, just tell your friends about it.
Mm-hmm.
That would mean the world to us. So now, Tyler, what you been playing?
I've been playing a little bit more World of Final Fantasy to kind of keep rolling on that. I do plan to jump back into Final Fantasy 14 sometime because Shadowbringers comes out soon. But this week, I've been kind of sick this week, and I don't really like to play games when I'm sick, so I mostly just sat on the couch and like watched TV and slept. So
that sounds awesome, though. I hope you feel better.
I feel better now. I was pretty sick on Thursday. Oh, but on Wednesday, I went to E3 in Los Angeles, which was very fun. I got to see a lot of cool games. I didn't play a whole lot of games there because I don't really like to wait in lines, and there's like a lot of people there. But it's always fun to go to the Indiecade and see what people are making. I played a game called Speaking Simulator that kind of like you sort of control like an alien who's trying to masquerade as a human, and you have to like juggle the way they speak, and it's very goofy and very fun. There's like a lot of like sort of feels like Goat Simulator in the like just weird bugginess of it is kind of a charming feature of it. What else did I play there? That's pretty much it. I can't remember the name of this game, but I played a game that had 2 controllers. So it was a 2-player game, and the controllers had 2 square slots in them. So they're just like a rectangle about the size of a normal game controller with 2 square slots. And you would pick up little cubes that had different controls on them. So there's like the object of the game was to sail a ship around this spherical globe and blow up factories and other ships. But you had 2 players, and with 2 cubes each, and the different cubes you would put in had like a steering wheel, or like raise the mast, or like a firing thing to fire the cannons, and then another thing to load the cannons. And depending on which player was doing the thing, you had to put the cubes on the right side. So if you're trying to fire on the right side, you need to have your right-handed player like do the thing on the right side. And it was like, so there's a lot of like cube switching involved to sort of try to fight stuff, and it was very fun, very innovative, and it was. I had a lot of fun playing it anyway for the few minutes that I played it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
man, E3 is the best.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I got my picture taken on Cloud's motorcycle from Final Fantasy VII, so that was neat.
Why is that? Is that your profile picture on Facebook yet? Why is that not a thing?
It's not currently, but I should probably make it my profile picture.
Should be. It should be.
So, yeah, had a lot of fun at E3, and then I must have got sick at E3 or something because Thursday I was
I mean, that does sound like a complete and total germ fest. Like, if I was a germ, I'd want to live at E3.
For sure. Picking up controllers that like 1,000 other people have touched. Gross.
Oh, yeah. 100%. So,
yep.
Tyler.
What have you been playing?
I got the Xbox Game Pass, I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got Doom 2016. It was on there for free. Yes, I've been playing that. It's really fun. Really enjoying myself. You're right. Just the speed and how you go fast. There's so many secrets to find. It's just great. And it just feels really fluid. You know, it's kind of like a first-person shooter parkour. That's how I would describe it.
It's super fun.
Yeah, it feels great. So I've been playing that a lot. I've been playing Destiny a lot. I'm trying to get some ridiculous unlocks on that.
I got to get back on the Destiny train too.
So, but it's been really good. And that is pretty much it for today, I believe. So with that, I think we'll see y'all next week for the last, hopefully the last. I mean, I said this was the last one, so who knows what's going to happen. Maybe this ends up being an 18-part episode. And I have no idea.
Welcome to Codex, a history of Pokemon.
Yeah, pretty much. So we should change the name to Rodex if we did it that way.
Yeah.
Or Rotodex. That would make more sense. So, all right. With that, have a good day, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, goodbye.